streaming service. There you go, folks. You're welcome to Radio FM 88 Australia. It's a good afternoon, good evening, and good morning wherever you are on the planet. And you're on Radio FM 88. My guest is Monica Ward, who we just had a little joke there. She came from England, spent a lot of time down there at Brighton Pier, window shopping for fellas. There you go. Anyway, she currently lives. She came out here in Australia in 1963, and she's found her way up the Granite Belt up in Queensland on the New South Wales border at a place called Warwick, and well known for its stone fruit because of its cold. So, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to you, Monica. Yeah.
Good evening. It is here. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's good morning, good afternoon. A lot of people around the world watching.
Good morning and good afternoon to everybody else wherever they are.
Right. Now, you've come on tonight because you've got a gift, and that gift is about following your intuition, following what you would call, some would call it a spiritual path, some would call it a personal growth path, and some would call it straight out of the movie Ghost, when Patrick Swayze gets Alma to come and help pass on the knowledge and share that wisdom to his good lady. And you've developed that skill in dealing in the unseen world with where you can see the energies of various people, and you've got contact with people who have basically passed over. So most Christians would consider you to be a prophetess as well. And there you are, parked up there in the Granite Belt on the Darling Downs. And it's I think it's important that people can touch base with someone to say that there's more to life. And it's a matter of bringing those skills and that knowledge and saying to people they're not alone. I mean, I'm quite sure people have had lights flicking and door knocking and there's no one there, and they may have seen UFOs. It's an unbelievable phenomenon. So it's great to have someone like yourself, Monica, here tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are. So you want to kick back and just give us a little bibliography of who you are and how you got to it? How did you get these gifts?
Well, I was born with them, and I had no idea that everybody else wasn't the same. So I can remember things I discussed with my mother, which she said, you can't have known that. That happened before you were born. Well, I was there. And then dreams I used to tell her, and she'd go out and follow through on what I'd told her, which was very helpful at some stage. And I had no idea of that either. I was always aware of presences. In a big old English house, you went upstairs at night, the wall was on too, but you checked under the bed and in all the cupboards and then locked the doors, you see. But I always found that there were people appearing in the curtains and in the mirror and all this sort of thing as well. So life moved on, and then I talked to other people later on, and they would say, but I can't do that. And I go, you got bits missing in your head or something? Because to me, having a television in your head was just a natural thing. And then I got in with psychic people when I moved to Perth. And of course, then I trained to understand how it worked, past, present, future, how I could switch it on and off, get through the energy fields and all that sort of thing. Actually, the first experience that really brought it home to me, I went to a spiritual church with my mother and some friends after something happened, and I borrowed a book from the library called There Is a River, and this is the life story of Edgar Cayce. Now, Edgar Cayce is extremely famous, and to this day, NASA still use a lot of his prophecies. But that was the thing that brought home to me, I'm home. I understand this language. I could go to a group and meditate and see spiritual beings and flashes of the future. And at that stage, people were rather wary of us, whereas today with remote viewing in the Defence Force and other things that have come out, we're considered a bit different.
Well, we've actually seen that with SBS and their show Project Blue Book. with the Americans and their UFO activities, and they tried to debunk as much as they could. But at the end of the day, the CIA were operating these programs that you're just talking about.
Exactly. And I have had over my lifetime quite a lot of experiences. But I used to say to people, they're my experiences. They came for me. I had the experience, whatever it was that happened. Why would I have a need to discuss that publicly? So people found that very surprising. I have, had interaction with the UFO group in Melbourne that records all this sort of thing and other stuff like that. But I haven't made a big issue out of it. But I'm sitting back now laughing because they're in the skies over there as we speak. They had a big couple of nights ago there was about 10 ships over here, but we're getting reports in from all over the world on a regular basis, live streaming the ships coming in now, and people are rather worried why they're here at the moment.
But your job is not to dwell on the fear, is it? Your job is really to teach people to rise above all that.
I have absolutely no fear of them, no fear of the Galactic Brotherhood or the whatever else. I've never had any bad experiences, and I have a total belief that we couldn't possibly be alone in the galaxy, and that there would be interaction between different types of beings, that they will not interfere with our free will, but they're certainly there if we need them.
But so put your hand up and ask, yeah?
Yeah, first started out, I was a psychic. I see the future and I talk with people on the other side, and I'm a trance medium. So when all these things started happening, I'm there going, what do I need to know that for? Why are you bringing these beings to me? Why are you giving me this all information? And of course, Spirit thought that was funny and said, it's all part of the same jigsaw. You cannot have just the understanding, for example, of being able to heal the sick without putting it together with the energy fields and where it's coming from and how it works. And that was when I had to start learning about things like auras and chakras and kundalinis. And in those days, we were considered a bit out there. But in this day and age, even NASA has pictures of spirit leaving the human body when it died, and they use Edgar Cayce and Nostradamus in work that they do, and they talk openly now about the matrix and the things that go interdimensional.
Right, so you'd be a big fan of any type of TV show or video or movie or any books that sort of enlighten people to move into the paradigm shift, yeah?
Yes, if I'm given the information from someone and I feel that it's relevant, I will pass it on. On the other hand, I don't have a lot of time for that, but it comes to me. I was very fortunate that when a gentleman came out from America looking for connections and places to stay, I was able to meet up with him. He came to Warwick and actually did a meeting for us on UFOs, and we've kept in touch ever since. So it's like whatever journeys I need to make, the people are always there available for me.
Just come back to the time you were born then. So were you the only one in your family, or is it, if we go back a generation or two generations, was there something coming through your family line, or is it just you that sort of slipped in there?
You see, what happened was it was not a thing that was openly discussed. My grandparents were quite religious and Methodist or whatever, and didn't want to go down that track, and they policed me fairly closely. But I did find out, of course, afterwards that one of my mother's cousins was in the beginning of the psychic news back in those days, and my mother was quite psychic, and she didn't start doing her development until we were in the 60s in Perth. So yes, there is. We're also, if you look at the genetics, I'm English, but my father was Welsh and Cornish. And when my brother started doing our ancestral tree, we go back through Scotland and then through Ireland. So it's part of our bloodline, is that psychic connection.
Right. Okay. And so when you're a young girl then, going through school or even in you're going through school and stuff. You got these little intuitions, these little insights and all that stuff. I mean, did you get bullied or anything if you said anything, or you just learned to keep your mouth shut?
School was very well policed in those days. I went to grammar school. We had people sitting at the table with us when we had lunch. We had people walking around with us in the playground. There was not the opportunity for people to be bullied or stood over or whatever. The other side of it was that I was very big. I was bigger then than I am now in size wise. I stopped growing when I was about 11, so I'm about 5 foot. But I was the biggest kid in the school and huge. So of course I became the mother confessor, and everybody brought me their problems and expected me to sort everything out. Yeah.
Okay, rightio. And so, of course, after grammar school, then you started venturing out in life. And so, did you go and get a career of any magnitude, or you just went through a whole lot of different jobs?
I started out as a bookkeeper. I worked in a large store like David Jones for a while. I went into the army and I did radar. And when I came out from there, I was a telephonist on the telephone exchange before I came to Australia. My main career pathway since I lived here was credit manager. I've worked for some big steel companies as credit manager. And then I worked for the last 12 years before I was sort of going to be retiring was I was a penciler for an auctioneer. I did all the big auctions, and so I got to see a lot of very exciting places. And yes, but again, it was figure work. You see, I'm really good with figure work.
Okay, and did you sort of marry your gifts into the business world? So you know, like say for example, being a credit manager, did you get any insights or feelings that, you know, we can trust this company or this individual, or did you know when to go and tap on the door and say we need your money?
I have to admit to being a bit naughty there, but in saying that, I would discuss with the guys about, because I worked on jobs like Parliament House, the Art Gallery, all the big jobs in Canberra. And I'd ring them up and require the cheque to be paid and all the paperwork to be done. And then I'd get the girl in the office with the short skirt to drive the car down there and pick it up. Got to the stage where they'd ring and say, "Are you coming for your cheque?" Of course, I'll be right over. So I had the best collections, and nobody ever caught me out on that one. It was really useful. But yes, I did used to use my abilities, because you find you have a quick brain. People that are genuine psychics work 100 miles an hour, and it's also, that's the sort of work they do, is with figures and paperwork and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. So now then, the big leap forward, and then jumping out of traditional business modality into well, what you currently do now, and that's more or less, as you said before, mother confessor, but in the sense that people come to you and they come for a session where you can give them some, and the guidance is, when did that take place?
Oh, that started fairly early in the piece. I did my training when I was in my late 20s in Perth. And then when I had small children. I had a husband who had post-traumatic stress disorder. He was a returned soldier from the NATO forces in the Congo, and he was not able to function in a job. So I had to have a second job and a third job to bring the children up. And then I was also involved with the spiritual church. So I actually started doing readings right the way through, and even at work in the office, they'd come scuttering in at lunchtime and sit down and want some insight into something. I've had some incredible experiences like that. So it's always been there for the last 60 years, even though I had a career path as well. So it wasn't until my husband retired from the hospital and we moved up to Queensland that I actually went online and worked on a magazine. I worked in Broadbeach on the coast for some time. And then after that, we retired out here. So then I became full-time doing this type of thing, as well as looking after my family.
That's very good. So, how do people hear about you? I mean, is it just word of mouth?
Well, you see, I had a huge following in Canberra because we had several spiritualist churches over there. And then over the years, they started doing psychic expos and this sort of thing. When I left there and I left that big following behind, I worked at the coast for a while. I was 12 years on Your Stars magazine online, but also writing for the magazine. So they would have heard on my face, would have been on the book in the newsagent. Yep.
So, I mean, Canberra been relatively a small community, less than 80,000 people in those days?
It's a lot bigger today, yes.
Yeah.
When I first moved there, it was only a few suburbs. Now it's huge.
Yeah, of course. So just by word of mouth and just the lady, the female network would have put you on the map, wouldn't they?
Definitely.
I'm taking a leap of faith here. Would you say more females come knocking on your door than males?
Traditionally, it was definitely more women. But over the years, it has evolved to men who've got, issues from work and so forth. But also, I've been surprised about the amount of guys that turn up and say, oh, well, I know all about this from my mother or my girlfriend or my sister. So they're prepared, having listened to them, to come along.
Is that right?
Mm.
And that's a big shift, isn't it? In consciousness, isn't it?
Definitely. They'll laugh at you and skite about you.
Yeah.
And then when there's a problem, either they'll come or send their mate over. Because all of a sudden, they realise that although they're making a fool of you and they don't want to be seen to be, when it gets serious, they send people over. Yes.
Do they? So what do they want to know? They want to know who's getting matched and dispatched, or what's the story
apart from sickness, and you've got haunted houses where people have had real problems in their houses. You see, people really don't understand how threatening it is. I went to a large block of flats in Belconnen once and knocked on the door at midnight and said, listen, I really haven't got time to be here, but I understand this is an emergency. Row of bikies laying on the floor, kids everywhere, and the ladies come and they said, everybody's scared to go to the bedroom. And so they asked me to go in there and confront what the spirit was in the bedroom. Now, unless you have actually experienced that, somebody pushing you out of bed, hitting you with something you can't see, and really know that it's real, people just think it's funny.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Seen these guys, but we were able to see when I work, I don't just go airy fairy. Oh, well, I found, so and so there and I just got rid of them. I want to call them up and I want their name and address and how they died and how they got where they are now. So there's always a true story attached to the beings that I find. Yes.
Good. I was having a little chuckle there, thinking just buddy Patrick Swayze there on the bed singing, and I'm Henry VIII. I am. But yeah. Well, that's I mean, I can understand. I mean, people have been brought up in a certain any religion that would be fearful of that, and so someone like yourself who's standing in your own presence and your own power with that knowledge, you're almost like a vacuum cleaner, right? You're like a Dyson, suck them out.
Well, yeah, pull them in and get rid of them.
Yeah. Very good. So, is that generally found all over Australia? I mean, being a convict settlement, has that been a major contribution here, or?
It's a lot of different things. Lately, we did have a lot of returned soldiers from Gallipoli, and the reason being that they had been there all that time, unaware that they died, until they went over and they did a huge cleaning up and all sorts of things over there. So they decided to come home. And of course, they've been dead for 100 years. And when they marched into their house, it was either changed, gone, something or other happened. And they were totally confused and lost. And people would be ringing up and saying, there's somebody here, there's a lot of strange noises happening. Can you come and help? So a lot of different things can cause this kind of thing. Yes, of course, convict settlements. And there's nothing worse than someone who's died a convict in chains and people are using it as a ghost tour and laughing at them.
Oh, yeah, okay. But we also can go to our Indigenous people as well, isn't it? Because that was sacrilegious what took place here in Australia with that.
Yes.
Have you had much to do with the Aboriginal community in that regard to help them move on, or they seek their
Well,
own people to do that?
because of well, you see, that's another interesting story. I came here expecting to be living and working amongst Aboriginal people. I'm English. I was totally misled. I arrived in Perth. There wasn't an Aboriginal in sight. And I was sent up to the office to be told that you'll take whatever job we give you. You can go and peel potatoes in the uni with the Italians, and not an Aboriginal to be seen. It was some time before I actually did have any connections with them. Now, I used to do party plans, see, and I'm doing a party, and I booked a girl from Aboriginal hostels or somewhere, and I was so excited. I was going to this house to do a party for all these Aboriginals, and when I got there, I stopped in horror and I looked at the table, and I said, "Is this the food that you've got for the party?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Lamingtons, pavlova, all this sort of rubbish." She said to me, "That's all we know. We were raised by the nuns at the convent."
Oh,
And
true.
I'm expecting toasted widgety grubs and things. That was the, that was the first time I had ever heard of Aboriginal missions. We didn't know. And then, of course, the Sisters of No Mercy and all the things that happened with the St. Joseph's and things. And I was absolutely, absolutely horrified. So it was a while. Now, what happened because of that? They didn't learn anything about their culture. They lived in missions. So now they come and seek me out when someone passes away and bring the whole tribe to see me so I can talk to them because they've lost their own skills to do it.
Oh, true.
So it's been very interesting, some of the, but I always laugh when I go, I've got a relative of yours here, Uncle Emu or something, and they go, "We don't want to talk to that miserable old so-and-so, get somebody else." And I'm thinking anybody else would go, "You can talk to him, you know his name." And it's to them, it's like, well, get rid of him, find someone else to talk to. It's just so funny.
It's spectacular. So, in other words, when people come to you, you'll either do it individually, but in this case here, you'll probably have the whole family, and you can.
They will all come, yes, uncles and
Yeah.
aunties and children and anybody that's there, and all sit round in a great big circle and see if we can talk to the deceased, and give them any enlightenment for the future. Or
Do you find after a session such as that there's a great, huge release and relief, and
Well, of course, there's always a big shift because the person has been released, but also the people don't have that grief because they know that spirit is still there in another frequency. Yep.
now, just a presence of mind. We go to the Bali bombings, yeah, and there's 88 people that were killed there, and the local Balinese came along and they did this humongous big cleansing, spiritual cleansing, I suppose you would call it, just to assist and help people move on from that. Yeah. Do you think that the Caucasian race keep going back to doing these ceremonies year after year after year? Is that purely because it gives them something tangible to touch, as opposed to the Balinese who have now released and moved them on so they can then get on with life? There seems to be a clash of cultures and cultural understanding.
Yes. I have noticed that if you do a cleansing when there's been something like that happen and release them all, there is no need to continue to go back again. But in saying that, in the process of when you pass over and move on, there is a year where you are able to come back and communicate. You're on a lower level, things start to move. Now, I had a real big surprise when my friend's father passed away and I went to the funeral, and I had no idea they were Jewish. And when I was invited back a year later, they have a second funeral at 12 months.
Oh, did they?
So yes, so some of the they understand that release. You see that for people that are not very involved, that 12-month period happens, and then they can move them on after 12 months. But as you said, there is no need to keep on keeping this up forever. They're not there anymore.
So if we talk about the Maori culture there, where they have the tangi, and it's the body's left in state in their house for 3 days, and family come, and there's always someone there in attendance before they go off and do the rites.
And they also have another ceremony at 12 months.
They do they?
Yes. And you see, traditionally in our culture, they leave the body laying out for 3 days. That allows the spirit to gather up and move. See, it's very, very worrying when people get blown up or killed suddenly. There's no body. They're blown apart. You can't lay them out for 3 days and hope that they're going to gather up and leave, because there's no body for them to work through. So that's why a lot of them get earthbound, because they're killed by bombs and shot and sudden death.
Okay, so let's then move to the Irish, because they like to get on and have a pretty good wake as well, don't they?
Yes, but with the Irish, they like to celebrate the person's life. Of course, they have a funeral, but afterwards they all get together and they're merry and happy and dance and sing, because they're celebrating that person's life and helping them to move on.
Sure. And then if we go into Tibet, where they then get their priests to come in and do all the clapping and all that stuff, and then they sort of escort the spirit out through the village and out to the into the never never, if you want to call it such. There's certainly a lot of aspects and cultures about moving on, isn't there?
They certainly, well, see, the Indians used to leave the old fellow out under the tree and let him pass off when he was ready and take himself on his journey. Yes, there is, because over centuries we have developed slightly different cultural ways of dealing with it. And look at the Egyptians, how they wrapped them all up and sent all their slaves and their jewellery with them. That's a worry.
Yeah, well, they did that in China too. Hey, so with all these different cultures and all that stuff, and people hear about you, are they the same cultures that are coming to see you as well, to sort of get that next step to move on?
I have been very surprised sometimes when I have learned that people that understand what we're doing and come to meditation and talk with us, when there is a funeral, they are a Muslim or a Jew or something else. And I had no idea, because they blend. We're called interfaith now, and we work between all the traditional faiths and some of the smaller ones as well. They've got the interfaith includes the Greek Orthodox, the Catholic Church, the Buddhist Church, and all the large religions.
And those religions, do they have people like you who are seers and have that ability to communicate?
Some of the churches have their own prophet, and it's is known as such. And I have been, like you said, told that should be considered to be a prophet. And when people question me about my beliefs, everything that I do is written in the Bible. The way I see it is that was a manual given. Some of it, I mean, it's been obviously added to and taken away from. But I teach, for example, about gemstones, you see, and I get told that that's evil and wicked, and I do sacred stones. So if you want to question it, I suggest you look at Revelation, and we only discuss the stones that are in the Bible.
Well, there's 12 stones that make up the New Jerusalem, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And then the same with when I was sick. What am I going to do? Well, read your Bible. And it tells you, and God made food for man to eat. And if you stick to that diet when you're unwell and only have the herb-bearing seeds and the things, there is no reason make food your medicine and medicine your food, that we shouldn't be able to overcome that. So.
Very good. Okay, so we've talked about moving across from this realm to the next realm. So now we're in the next realm. So we've met the midwives who have helped you cross over. What experiences have you had from looking at this perception of being on the other side, helping people come across to their side, and what actually happens? They, like when a child's born here, they go into a recovery room and then get all their memories back, and then they can move on. Is that too much of a?
No. When you die, we're talking about when you pass away. Different people have had different experiences walking through a doorway, crossing a river. Lots of different things happen on the other side, depending how evolved you are and where you're at with that. Now, again, when it comes to being reborn, if you're an old soul in a hurry to get back down here and you've got things to do, it happens quite quickly. Whereas if you're on the journey of knowledge and learning, you could be over there for quite a long time. I remember before I was born, things that happened and the quick passage in. We have quite a lot of awareness about us up until the age of 7, when it's sort of taken off you, and then you've got to earn it and grow with it yourself.
Right. So when we're looking at education and that, what's the first step that you fundamentally teach when a person comes to see you for, or how do you do that?
Well, the way I obviously approach it is, if a person comes to me initially for a reading because they have lost someone, they are going bankrupt, they aren't coping with their, we do a reading on them. Now, that reading covers past, present, and future. And if the pathway is correct, then we know where we're going with it. Now, we don't hit them straight away with other stuff until they're ready for it, because it's an overload for them. They need to work through what's happening to them right now. Then the first thing they look at you is, how did you know that? How did you know that this happened to me, or that happened to me, or that my grandmother, her name was Margaret and she passed away 2 years ago? Then I discuss with them how I pick up the information and how it works, and I gradually introduce them to the concept of other frequencies, of people that can hear things, they can see things, they can sense things. We're all different. We're all at a different stage of our evolution. And over time, then you can go along with healing and teaching them how the frequencies work. And then one day they might tell you they saw a ship and am I going crazy? And that's when the time you actually start talking to them about intergalactic travel and interdimensional and matrices and things, which if you did that the first time you met them, they never come back. So it's a growth process.
Oh, it's just like any form of education, you kindergarten, preschool, whatever, and then going right through to TAFE university, or pulling the pin at high school and saying, well, I'll get on with the university of life.
But I say to people, you can't go to uni if you haven't been through your proper schooling. You see, and a lot of people are taking people on trying to teach them mastery when they don't really know anything, and it doesn't work.
So what, you've got the psychic and the skeptic online, which we've just put up the address there as a website for people to make contact.
The reason that happened,
yeah,
I approached her inquiring about electronic assistance, and I just said to her, I felt we were meant to meet. And she said she had never had a reading and knows nothing what I'm talking about. So convince me, tell me. And it's been an amazing few weeks, this big journey that we've had already.
Yeah. You're talking about your offsider here.
Yes. And the thing there is that because I've done this for so many years and I've grown up with it and was born with it, I've forgotten what it was I didn't know. So the simple things that she wants to ask me a question, I never even thought to address that. Now, when I was dying in the early 90s and they took me to the Philippines for healing, the guy that was running the group said to me, I realise now I have to learn a new language, because he said, I have no concept of the words that you're using. It's just like when you start out with a computer. I wouldn't have a clue what all these words meant, but he didn't know our language either, so we had to teach it to him.
Okay, so okay, I'm going to put my hands up, and I'm thinking all this current Malay that's going on at the moment, and I want some sort of direction and guidance. And am I on the life's path and journey or whatever?
Okay. It
I
was
get hold of
interesting.
you, make a phone call. You say, "Yeah, I'm free on Wednesday morning. Come and see me." Bring a tape recorder, use the phone, record it. Let's get into it. Write some questions down. Come and see me, and let's see what we can do. Yeah.
Or I can do it over the phone. I can talk to people all over the world. But you just brought that up, you see, and I just wanted to say to you, thank you so much for this opportunity, because today is the 8th of May, 8 being infinity and completion. It is the day of the super flower full moon. Now, that is the time of transition for the whole planet. And you may have noticed in this last few days huge shifts of awareness, consciousness, fleets of ships coming in. Now, I looked it up and I thought the significance of that. It's the super flower moon. And that immediately made me think of the flower of life, the how everything is part of sacred geometry, how the flower of life is taught in the Kabbalah and then back to ancient Egypt, and look at the Buddhists and their lotuses and things. So here we are today on one of these most auspicious days. I haven't had a chance to look at the Mayan calendar, but I'm sure there'll be something mind-blowing in there. This is the day of the big shift, the beginning of a new journey.
Right. Okay. So let's come back here. So made a phone call. I'm coming down to see you. I want to physically come and see you. I just want to see that.
Sit across the table from me. Yes.
Okay. So I've come there and I'm
Okay.
looking everywhere and all that stuff. You give me a glass of water and you say, "Sit down, cool down," and just role play. Role
So
play.
you
Tell me.
want my expertise. Let me explain to you what happens.
I don't want a reading. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
I
no.
just want
I'm
you
just
to
telling
go
you
for the
this.
role play. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. This is a role play.
Mm.
And I'm telling you how it worked, because I used to do on energy people's aura and read them. Now, if you tune into a person, you immediately get a big hit in the chest from if they're crying, emotional, or whatever else. It can be quite distracting. Then I found bringing a piece of jewelry, they bring someone else's. So then I said to Spirit, and they said, buy a pack of cards, we'll show you how to do it our way. And that way I can get tuned in straight away. And the person's energy is directed at the cards and not directly at me. I don't need them and I can work without them, but I work on what has brought you here now and where we're going to go with that.
So when you say cards, are you talking about playing cards, or are you talking about the
No,
packs that you see in the
no,
shops?
I was told by Spirit to buy a packet of Rider-Waite tarot cards, and they're the only ones that I use. They're traditionally quite ancient, and they mean different things to me than if you bought a book and learned it off by heart. They talk to me. You need to understand this concept is that I pick up a card and this card talks about a journey. Okay. You're going to travel. Do you think the card then gets up and talks to me? No, it doesn't. I've got to look in my head and see where you're going, identify the country and how you're traveling and so on. And I have, sometimes it will just be given to me, but in a lot of ways, I have a huge storage in my memory banks, right?
You just got on
So
a truck, you just travelled.
So yeah, that's the go. So if I've been there spiritually
Yep,
previously, okay,
gotcha.
now I'm sitting opposite this woman and I'm looking at her, I'm going, okay, so you're in Austria, you're in that town, whatever it's called, and I think it's Vienna, and you're across the road and there's this massive big hospital and you've just gone in the back gate. And the woman's I'm saying, now, could you like to tell me why are you going in the back gate of the hospital? And she looked at me and she said, because I'm a trainee nurse and that's where I worked about, 50 years ago. How did you know? Well, I had done a reading previously for another woman from there whose mother had died in that hospital, but she'd gone through the front door, you see, and she used to catch the bus across the road. So as soon as I saw the vision in my head, I could identify the hospital.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And where I was. So if I ask people, I'm describing a place to you, now I would like you to tell me where that is. And once they've identified it, the next time I pick it up, I know exactly where I am. Oh, at the moment, I'm walking through Cairo and I'm heading down there towards the old temple at the back there. And they're going, how could you do that? Only because somebody told me where I was because they went there on a trip. And it's all
really?
stored.
Yeah. So really,
my memory.
So language, and I mean, we're talking about all these different cultures before coming in, and English is, obviously not their first language, but but you're not actually driving the information from language itself. You're actually, I get the strong impression that you're talking about symbolism and the story of pictures. That actually,
all language comes in picture form, and you can have a room full of people, black, white, and brindle, and they will all receive the same picture and speak it in their own language.
Correct. Yeah.
And that's how, but because it filters through me, I'm speaking it in English. But the guide sitting over there could be Japanese or Chinese or whatever, and he will send me the information and my brain will filter it into English and I'll be talking to the person about it.
So they always say a picture tells 1,000 words. You're actually unraveling the actual picture to tell the story, and hence the what did you say? The Rider-Waite tarot pack is your guide, is your picture form that unlocks unlocks that knowledge. Yeah,
that's exactly it. Yes.
All right. So, how long does it take for someone to come in and then participate in this, and then actually leave at the end of the day?
Well, I normally get onto it straight away. And if it's a straightforward reading, I can do it in half an hour. But if it's going to have some passed over people coming through or a person needing to be put into meditation to give them healing, it could take an hour.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, if we're making the drive to Warwick, I mean, from Brisbane, let's say Brisbane GPO, the city of Brisbane, from the mall, how long does it take to get to your place then? Is it 2 hours, 2.5 hours? Yeah.
Yes, but often people come down. Well, 4 ladies might come down for morning tea for a trip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. Okay.
One day out. Mm.
And what about the Gold Coast? How long does that take to get up to Warwick?
Hour and 3/4. Because see, you've got a lot of highways now. We can go down through Bow Desert and up the back way.
Sure.
Or down the Ipswich Highway and straight into Logan.
Okay, gotcha. And
I'm an hour and 1/4 from Ipswich.
Hour and 1/4 from Ipswich. How far from Toowoomba, by the way?
3/4 of an hour.
Is that all?
Mm.
Okay. And you threw a word out there, or a couple of words there, and it's called spiritual church. What exactly is a spiritual church compared to other forms of
A Christian Spiritualist church is a church where they read books that have spiritual teachings in them. They sing hymns that uplift the energy. They do healing prayers, and then they may have a trance medium who gives an address in trance and then does reading overheads for the people that are there. And when I moved from, we had several in Canberra. I formed one in there and also was involved in the creation of one down at Bateman's Bay. When I arrived here, I found in the internet 43. And the first year I was here, I was on the platform of 23 of them.
We're talking all over Australia here, are we?
No, we're talking Queensland, the Gold Coast.
43.
Yes, I travelled. They were from Coolangatta, Tweed Heads, into Narang, up on the Gold Coast, all the way along the coast, up round Salisbury, Hemmant. There's a lot of churches that are old have actually got a building, and some of them are just groups. But I found 43 groups, and I managed to be at 23. There wasn't any point at that stage of me starting anything because there were so many outlets there.
Is that right? I mean, it's not as if you go for a drive around, say, Brisbane or the Gold Coast, and you see, what do you call it, a spiritual church out the
No, you
front with
don't.
a big sign and a big.
Only a couple of actual buildings. The rest of them are held in community centres. But they're running live streaming online, and United Spiritualist Church of Australia actually has their own reverends too. So you can Google them.
Oh, is that right? Okay, so yeah, because we're seeing a lot of major buildings and all that stuff where people go for a worship on a Saturday or a Sunday, isn't it?
Well, the Spiritualist Church is in Boundary Street in the city. That's a building, 2-story building, and it's just opposite the ambulance station. Now, that's been there over 100 years. It was opened by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who came out here specially. And to this day, they have 2 services every Sunday at 2 o'clock and 7 o'clock, and a big library. Daisy Hill.
Boundary Street.
Boundary Street
yeah.
in the middle of the city. Yes, that's
So
the one that we could recommend you could go to, because I know it's there still.
But you just said a key character who, did he write Sherlock Holmes, didn't he?
Arthur Conan Doyle.
Arthur Conan Doyle.
He was an incredible spiritualist. He used to do that stuff before he passed away, and after he died, he channeled a lot of books there with the White Eagle Lodge at Mullaney, and they have their own publishing. Now, he was a man that actually, he was a newspaper writer initially, and he discovered this big group of fairies, and he made the mistake of making it public, and the people came down from London and all over the place and trampled the forest, and that was the end of that. But he did all this sort of work both before he died and afterwards, and he came to Australia, and he actually helped open that church in Boundary Street. Yep.
Oh, is that right? Mm-hmm. Hey, if I'm listening here and I'm thinking, I'd like to get hold of you, Monica, I'd like to have a reading with you. Well, how much do you charge?
The current rates are normally $60 for half an hour and $100 for an hour.
But that varies, of course, as you mentioned before. They can be half hour. They might come for a healing or whatever, isn't it? It's
a lot of people. We don't charge for healing, and I don't. If they ring up through the church and need counselling, I don't charge for that either. We leave it up to them. I mean, because it has to be available to people in need. Mm.
It's very magnanimous of it. You're paying it forward, isn't it? It's a rarity these days, isn't it?
Well, the thing is, you see that what you put out comes back to you. As you know, I had a refuge for homeless boys in Canberra for many years, and up here I'm associated with a small disability group. Now, people constantly donate clothing, food, goods, all sorts of things, which I've got to move on to. But you see the cycle of life there. I mean, there was a big company, Gold Coast, donated us about 20 computers at one stage that they didn't need anymore. We had them all done up and taken up to a group in Toowoomba. So we do have a flow of things happening, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
Fantastic. We've got a few people who have come online here and put up comments there, so I'll just quickly go through them. I have gone and acknowledged them, but I'll just verbalise it by saying a gentleman by the name of Jacob Jansen. Hello, Monica. Looking great. Yeah. Francis Page, good evening. Debbie Usher, good evening, Jeff and Monica. Lee Lingwadoc. Hello, Monica. I got that right, I think. Apologise for that.
Yeah, that's one of our Aboriginal friends.
Oh, very good. Debbie's got laugh out loud, and that was to a funny little thing that we said, so she's got onto it. Austin Heschel says hi, and he's also come back to say I'm new here, so I don't know if he means new here in Queensland or new here on the internet, but he can actually let us know. D. Scott is a hi, Monica. High five there. Fern Nightai. Hey, Grandma.
Oh, that's New Zealand. New Zealand. A lot of people call me Grandma or Mum or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So it's either
extended family, but
grandmother, yeah, auntie, yeah.
Gma. That's all the boys call me Juma.
Do they? Okay, we've got Crystal Yates, and Crystal is hearing you. Debbie's come back, awesome. Mark Green, very informative. Many thanks, Monica. Crystal's come back to say Monica is great. It's a big pardon. She's helped me. And then Mark's come back again and says, hello, great show. Now, Crystal Yates has really thrown a big curveball. She's actually saying, re the coronavirus, is it true that in the future we will have a chip in our body with the vaccine or no government help? Bible says, mark of the devil. This
is something that, as you said, it's a curly one. It is something that is on their agenda, but if you look at the amount of people that are not prepared to accept that, my feeling is that will go in the right direction in time.
Hey, so I really appreciate what you're just saying there, because I'm very familiar with, if I ask for a car park, I always get my car parks. It's a matter of how you hold your intent, isn't it? And so exactly. if you can obviously have the healing process going through your body, and if they come to you for healing, that's a first step in dropping out of that fear concept and taking personal responsibility. That's self-mastery of making your own decisions in life and not accepting, I don't know, just willy-nilly. Yeah.
You have to have some form of ready to believe or have faith in something. And we're all, nowadays, it's so much easier to explain. I tell people, listen, when I was young, they didn't have televisions or radars. Now I said, we do. So what I'm telling you is you're made up of atoms and molecules and electrons, and you move in space, and you're not really solid, only on a certain frequency, right? Because you can sit in front of the TV and it goes straight through you and you can't stop it, but that bloke's not even here, but he's real, he's in Melbourne. So you see, you can understand frequencies coming from higher realms, from inner realms. And the thing is that if your frequencies are on perfect harmonics, then you can't be sick. So let the darkness go, tune yourself up and be whole again.
Right. So what we're really saying here is that we need some service stations for the human form. A new loop.
I've had this dream when there would be like a doorway on the corner with the vibrations, and as you were waiting for the lights to change, you could walk through it and it'd just woof everything off you and you'd be complete again. See, that we're untouchable on harmonic frequency, 33.33, whatever. So all the anxiety and depressions and everything else that we go through takes us off harmonic frequency. But once you can learn to meditate and be close to nature and get your harmonic frequency back up again, no darkness can dwell within the light. So there you go.
So you talked about the current moon and so forth, and it's shedding its light on the planet. What you're really saying is that if we can all move as a collective, and not give this whole thing any energy, and then come up with a whole new paradigm shift to say, excuse me, we're going to take personal responsibility. Guess what? We're going to start talking to people. We're going to have a barbecue at Monica's place. Let's all turn up and just have a chit chat.
No, we'll just say that by the time we've planned it, they will have moved all the restrictions. But the thing is, you see that if you lift yourself up and we're all harmonizing together, that's going to lift the vibrations of everything around us. It's only if you fear it, you're going to bring it to yourself.
Right. Light. Okay, so light attracts light, in which case if you put it out there, you're attracting it, yeah?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so in all your travels, what's been the most humorous session you've ever had when you're doing a reading with someone or a session with someone?
Oh, funny things. Lots of funny things have happened,
but laughter is the best medicine, isn't it?
I went to this house one day and the lady said to me she thought she had a spirit in the house, but she wasn't quite sure, and we'd just sit there and do the reading, you see, and I'm sitting there looking at her, and all of a sudden I'm looking up with horror, doing the reading. She said to me, "What's wrong?" I said, I think you're right. I said, I think there is a spirit in the house. So she turned around and looked up at the wall cabinet and said, what are you looking at? And as she looked at, this ball came flying over the edge and fell on the floor. And that was about the third one. And she said, oh, that's that silly bird up there. He's always kicking his balls around. There was a little budgie on the back of the shelf, and every now and then these balls would come flying off. And see, I thought it was a ghost throwing things at us.
Very good, mate. Lovely. So, yeah, so you've obviously got the gift within your, yourself. How's it going with your next generation of your family? How are they coming forth? Are they getting any sort of sensation, tinglings themselves? Grandkids?
Well, I have 3 children, all of whom are quite psychic, but they only use it when it suits them. They really don't want to get too heavily involved, but they will play meditation and talk to people about things. One of my granddaughters was actually born. What am I doing here? And she's very switched on. And great-grandchildren are, you know, what are you doing there? I'm just talking to God a moment. You think, where'd you get that from? I used to make them sit under the tree when they and close their eyes while they're waiting for the dentist, you know, and all the we opened our eyes sitting in a park to be surrounded by hundreds of galahs and things because the energy attracted them. So my grandson, what happened? And he'd go, oh, I'm just giving myself helium. I fell over. And he used to have his hand on his knee giving himself helium. He was so cute. Yes, so they've all got those sort of gifts.
They're having a boardroom meeting with God. That's pretty good, eh? Okay, so coming back to yourself personally, then. I mean, when you're doing your trance sessions and all that stuff, are you being asked to sort of just move aside for a temporary evacuation where you go off and get taught and then drop back in, or how do you stay there?
What happens is I feel them coming in, so I step out. Now, whatever is said in that trance, well, I'm aware of it while it's happening. Once it's over, it's all gone. So unless somebody records it for me, sadly, I miss it all. But yes, it comes through me, not from me. It comes from I've channeled all sorts of higher beings, but when you're channeling for a specific purpose, see, I've channeled Albert Einstein for a scientist many years ago. That was for a specific purpose. It was all over my head, but he got out of it what he needed. And other, known people. But I've had a jazz musician from New Orleans, complete Negro voice and the whole bit. Why they brought him in, I have no idea, but that was a fun afternoon for the other people. But as I said, once it's over, I just don't remember it. Same when I do readings for people. Don't remember a word of what I said, and I can pass them in the street tomorrow and don't even recognise them. Unless they speak to me afterwards when I'm back to myself and tell me things, don't have any memory of it.
Okay, so if people are listening on the radio currently, they're not actually seeing the visual that us two are having. So unless they're on Facebook watching the shows. So the visualization, if I can describe it, would be I'm taking you back to the movie Ghost, with Patrick Swayze, and we see how he actually steps in order to get that final crossing and get that final message across to his woman. But they're the closest that you could see within any movies that would. Actually, there's another one, Heart and Soul. There's another one like that.
Those, so they're don't mean anything to me, but sometimes they step into me and completely, like, you'll see me change. The person will be looking at me and going, they can see the person come through. And I have had them materialise as if they were really standing there. It's quite frightening for the person that they, but in saying that, they do it on purpose. You're not listening. You don't believe I'm here. You're giving this lady a hard time. Well, here I am.
Is that right? Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what, I mean, I'll just come up with that other movie, Heart and Soul, with Robert Downey Jr. So, 4 souls that hadn't been moved into the light, been left behind, and then the bus conductor is the imagery that come down and pick them up, and but they have to do their last thing that they always wanted to do before they can move on, and so Robert Downey Jr. becomes their vessel for saying goodbye to their loved ones. And there's nothing better than Robert Downey Jr. standing on the stage with the fella coming in there as a baritone singer singing America's national anthem. It was a really awe-inspiring scene. Yeah. So I'm sure you've touched. Yeah, I'm sure you've touched so many people the same way. Yeah.
Occasionally, we have had problems with people who've rang me and said, "I'm a happily married man, and something's happening between me and the lady in the office, and we need help." So here we go. And what we find is that there's an earthbound male and an earthbound female. He was in love with her, and she died of a sickness, and he's died since. And there they are, trying to use this couple as a way of reaching each other.
Oh, true.
So we had to clear them out in a hurry.
So so we've been here for an hour, but the most important thing that you just said there was the fact of education, isn't it? It's just people have been, when they've moved into this realm, it's been, no one has a direct line to the source. You have to go through a middleman. And now it's the case of people like yourself have come here to be teachers to show, no, free phone call, you get on the line, not a problem.
You can be one with God, but I have had people who've said to me, "You have to do it because I'm not good enough. God wouldn't hear me." I'm going, "Hello, where were you raised?" But see, God always says, "Listen to the still small voice within," which tells you that if you go quietly away somewhere and meditate and focus, you will hear the advice and direction from within.
Right.
People who don't,
okay.
they don't like themselves quite often. They don't want to be alone with their thoughts. The monkey mind is going all the time, and they have to be, and they're the ones who find it so difficult to accept anything like meditation because they don't want to be alone to think.
Well, all they have to do is go to the kitchen there and stand at the kitchen sink and wash the dishes and dry them. You can move into a different space altogether.
That's a brilliant idea. Yep.
I'm sure every woman who's listening to that can get their husbands and boyfriends to do that. You can do the stand-up meditation. But I'm sure a lot of people actually get that from just gardening too. Eh?
Oh, definitely. So close to the earth and getting around nature and see all the thing, everything is alive. It's all giving out vibrations. So you're getting the nurturing of the plants and the rocks and the sky and the butterflies, and people just don't realize everything has life.
Okay, so we're going to wrap it up. So knowing what you know now, what would be your 10 commandments if you got 10 commandments, or even if you come down to 5 commandments or 4 commandments? What would you, with your university of life knowledge, what would you impart?
First commandment is always do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. If you're that considerate, right, and have respect and so on. Faith, believe in God and put out a sense of purpose. Now, how you see that is up to you because everybody has a different perspective. But however it is, work with the energy. Believe in yourself. Build a bridge to tomorrow. Because if you've got the thought out there, the universe will take it and build a bridge to tomorrow. Never give up.
Very good.
As you said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But that's how I believe that people need to look at how they treat other people, how they think, because as you think, so it becomes, how you verbalize things, and sing and dance and live. Have joy in your life.
Well, I've been listening to you. Did I hear you say, I mean, it might have just went over my head, but did you ever near-death experience? Did you pass over and come back?
I have a friend who's died 4 times and come back. He's the one who can talk about that. I was very ill. I had healing in the Philippines. But what I did say was, I remember before I was born, what I described to my mother, she said, you cannot have known that because I was only 3 months pregnant with you when that incident happened.
True.
Where were you? I said, looking in the window. I remember watching you and your sister, and I could describe exactly what happened. So she said, what happened after that? I said, I just blacked out. She said, oh, well, I thought I was a bird. She said, no, that would have been when your spirit came into me because she was 3 months.
True.
But no, my past life experience, I remember it wasn't very pleasant. I died in a concentration camp. And so at the time when I was being tortured and pulled all my hair out and things, I have a thing I've had to overcome about parking in underground car parks and being around a lot of concrete and all that sort of thing. But I can distinctly remember some of that too.
True. I'll tell you what, it's been a very interesting Friday night. And for anyone who's gone on a date night, this was your date coming here and listening to Monica. It was really good.
Thank you very much it was a pleasure.
Well, before we go, is there anything that I should have asked you that I haven't asked that you need to get off your chest? Is there something? Is there a question?
No, because the only thing I wanted to bring out was about this amazing moon and about the energy that's come with it, and you gave me that opportunity.
Okay.
So.
Well, if no one else tells you today, I love you. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
And thank you to all the people that called in, and hello to Jacob. Jacob's in the Philippines. So we've had a wide audience.
And a lady called Diane Blanche.
She's from down the coast. She's a spiritual woman. And that Crystal Yates, I'm going to dob her in. She's she's in the Scottish military band. She went to the Edinburgh Tattoo in Sydney. And if this virus hadn't happened, she might have even gone to Russia. So congratulations, because I love pipes and drums.
Do you really? Okay. Hey, we've got a few people just before we go. So Debbie, it's a big wow, and I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed it. She got a lot of laughs out of it. And Francis is saying there's a huge white light around you, Monica. So it's obviously someone who's well.
I said they to see my aura on this thing because there's nothing behind me. See?
Yeah. And your Mark Green there's got. Thank you both very much. So I think that's what it's about, isn't it? It's just making sure people know there's other people like them, that they're not alone, and it's a matter of touching base, and you can get out of that fear mode and start moving towards having a life.
Fern lost her father a while back, and because of all the things, so hello to her too.
And Jim Ottaway's just slipped on to say, great interview, Monica. So it's really your life coming out.
Is absolutely brilliant with his music.
Yeah. So, is that right? And Diane Blanche has just come and say, good to see you again, Monica. Mwah. It's all happening. Yeah, lovely. And it's been a pleasure. Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Thank you so much. I hope I'll see you again.
Yeah. Again, any of those folks out there, they've all got a story. They've got a gift they can share. Yes. Just get hold of us, and let's see what we can do together as a cooperative. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Love you all. Love everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Francis. Love you, mate.